We have never visited this place before, never even heard of it, and pronouncing its name correctly is still a challenge. Blina Festinyak, is it? But in 2 days we spent discovering its history, we found ourselves deeply immersed in the story of its people and the dark mountains. We came to uncover mythical stories, but we found a story which is still very much alive. The story of quarrymen.
What did you say? Where did your father work? Which?
This one here.
In this one?
Yeah. So what like that hole?
Is that one closed as well?
That one is closed, yeah. That's the largest Slate mine in the whole of North Wales.
So he didn't go underground, he was
So back in the day it was underground, but then more recently when he was alive it was kind of above ground.
The workers, originally they had to walk to get into the mine. In the first chamber you go in, you will actually see a set of wooden stairs which date to just before the 1900s, and they're one of the original methods that the miners actually used to get into the mines. Back in those days, the only thing that was important enough to get a ride on the inclines was the rock. We can only get to 500 feet because where the water level sits now, but the mine itself is nearly 1,400 feet from top to bottom, so it's a fairly big hole in the ground.
Okay, so welcome to Paradise. This has all been carved out by these men with hand drills up until 1912 and then later on with the pneumatic drills. These are the drill marks, they're all over the place. So once you've drilled into about 2 or 3 inches, you knew where you were, and what you would do to save money is you would blow your candle out and you would be drilling in total darkness. So ie, gallai fynd yn ôl 6 cenedlaeth yn gweithio yn y llefydd yma. Oedd yn had yn gweithio yma, oedd yn haid yn gweithio yma, ac oedd yn hen daid i fi'n gweithio yma fyd. Oedd yn had a'n haid yn gweithio yma yn 1976, 1977, ac oedd yn haid damwain yn gweithio yma. Ond na i egluro mwy amdano hynna nesaf ymlaen.
If it wasn't for the slate quarries, Blaenau Ffestiniog wouldn't be here.
Blaenau Ffestiniog, if I'm right, it went from about 70 people to start off with, a couple of small holdings, to over 12,000 people in a short space of time during the 1800s. And Blaenau Ffestiniog is the slate capital of the world, it's roof of the world.
15 o chwareli yma ar un amser, a 4,500 o ddynion yn gweithio yn y chwareli yma. Ac o'na rhyw chydig o chwareli bychain, o'na rhyw chydig yn gweithio yna. Felly fel o'n i'n dweud, o'na lot o bobl yn tywall i mewn i'r dre yma. But gradually, because of different reasons, one of the main reasons was that this country started importing cheaper slates from the continent.
You won't find a stone like this anywhere else in the galaxy, I don't think, or the cosmos or whatever. So nature has provided us with a very special piece of material. This is an original hand drill. All it is a steel bar, 2 chiseled ends and a 10-pound weight at the bottom. If you needed a bigger hole, these can go up to around 20 feet or more. There's a really long one there. So fuse wire in first, then the gunpowder. Gunpowder would usually be kept around 20 feet away, or at least 20 feet away from your working area, in a safe box or a barrel. My father and my grandfather were some of the last people to be working down here on this level. And unfortunately, my grandfather did have an accident doing this job. He was stamping the gunpowder down, the blast went off early in his hand, and he lost the use of his hand. His hand was all mangled, couldn't straighten his fingers out, big scar down there, and blue freckles all the way up his arm, with a slate embedded underneath the skin. So I can appreciate the dangers that these men faced every day, and the sacrifices they made for their families.
They were affected by the slate dust that the quarrymen were breathing over the years. They were dying very, very young. There's one incident, one quote I remember of one doctor here saying that slate dust is particularly beneficial to health. Absolutely shocking, and the men believed it.
I think people are intrigued with what people used to do in the old days. And if we don't know what people used to do in the old days, then what do we know now?
Now there's only one quarry left now.
If I'm right, in this area there's about 5,000 people in the area, and the main industry these days is tourism. And this is what I do. I work here as a tour guide.
And when people come here and see the slate tips, they don't realise we have other beauties, you know, we have beauties around there. It's a beautiful part of the world. And the slate tips is just remains the evidence of the hard work of the miners over the years. Glenfishing itself doesn't benefit much from Sipwire and the underground. People don't come down to the town. So we'd love to see the town coming back to what it was 50 years back, you know. Unfortunately, and we don't have anybody to carry on to guarantee the future of our heritage, our special heritage, and our Welsh language.
My father worked here, my grandfather worked here, my great-grandfather worked here. They worked in these places, and if they didn't do what they did, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And then there wouldn't be a Blaenau Ffestiniog. This is what they did. They created a community, and those traditions, they're fast being lost, but it's important to keep the traditions and to keep the story alive.
So how did you learn all of these? Use the tools and stuff?
I don't know. I just did it. I don't think, so I just do it. If I think, then I do mistakes, but if I just do it, it's natural because I've lived here all my life. I've lived with these all around me. The slate is all around me. So when you're a child with all of this around you, you just play with it, and it becomes a natural second nature. Really. There you go, one each. Yeah.
Oh my god.
There you go.
Oh my god. Thank you so much.
Ar y gwaith ers rai blynyddoedd rwan, ys 3-4 blynedd fi'n siŵr, bod y bwriad i greu yr ardal llechi mae I gyd yng Ngogledd Cymru, i greu ardaloedd treftadaeth y byd, World Heritage Site, cynnwys Bethesda, Blaenau Ffestiniog a Dyffryn Nantlle a llefydd felly, dynnu sylw at y gwaith, a cyfraniad, y diwydiant llechi I ddiwylliant Cymru ac I economi Cymru yn arbennig. A da ni'n edrych ymlaen yn fawr I weld hynny'n digwydd ar yna sylw môr y gael ei roi.
O deiwch deulu mwynion, ar gonest ferched gwynion, fe ddarfur dyddia blinion, cawn dirion hyn o'n ha.